go. Just getting everything loaded up on my end here. Looks like we are underway. Forgot we've actually got 2 races in progress at the moment. Don't want to move too far. There you go. So let me get things set up with that in mind. Alright, so things have begun. Got a couple guys here in the expert one, or rather the amateur pro expert race. Don't see anybody joining in just yet over on the rookie end of things, but going to be interesting either way. So got a high speed one for you today. I think we might have Kia Golski joining with me. I'm not 100% positive, but should be. To give me some help on the commentary side of things. Looks like we're actually missing the track map, which would be relatively useful. Got all sorts of stuff here. Not seeing where that one ended up. Just trying to get that one set up here if we can. Alright, not exactly the same, but gives us a little something. Let's see what we can do there. Kind of make this a little bit better. Visible radius. Wonder if there's a way to make it not turn. We're learning these things together. It is showing from the way the camera goes, so that might get a little distracting, but better than no map, so I guess we will run with that rotating around in the corner for now. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if I can do that. Alright, do we still have the basic map at least? Correctly, there should be some built-in track something. Oh, and it's locked to us, of course. So that one's not going to help us too much either. Alright, well, I guess we're going without a map for today's event, unfortunately. Starting to get a few guys into the rookie event over there. But right now, looks like we've got 8 men on the grid here, 9 guys on the grid, all trying to tear their way through Port Newark. This one going to be a faster one today. Took us a little bit to get moving, but moving we are. Let's see, we got Brett in the pits trying to prove me wrong. Let's take a peek over with Rev 174. See what it is that they have going today. as they send one into the wall quickly, but right back on course. So not too discouraged by it, that's for sure. Curious to see how many we get, as there's a lot of time left in the season and a few good battles left going on. The amateur class is pretty much anyone's game in the top five. Rev, having used a few drops, will still be on the back foot, but a strong performance. Pro class, we've got three guys fighting it out, and a few battles for points going on in the expert, although Apache seems to have a pretty good lead and we'll be playing a game of Don't Mess Up, or at least their best version of it. Seems Rev's getting a little bit of pressure from Nick Cruz to get on the pace. These guys are in the same class, so definitely going to be a competition for time as people are trying to find the best way through. It is a tougher one. There's going to be a lot of bumps that these guys are feeling. You don't really get a good sense of it from the drone cam, but certainly a lot going on in that regard. I might try that map thing. I don't understand why we lost it. It was right here. Really? Very interesting. Could always try leaving and rejoining, as there hasn't been too many people joining in just yet. I feel like I hear another engine there. It is. It's going to be Seb Bellew sitting P7 since we currently joined the practice server. That's the main reason why I don't want to leave just yet. We do lose track of a couple of these laps that have already been put in if we do. Might be worth it to try and get that map back though. So we're going to take one stab at it real quick. See if that will solve it. Seems we've got 10 of the 10 of the 16 racers signed up currently. So only a few more expected to join us on the grid. I think Apache is going to be taking the this week off. So one less competitor up in the expert class. Hopefully we'll still see Wibba and Botlando there. Did this solve our issue? It does not seem to have. Well, as disappointing as that is, we tried our best. By that, I mean we gave it the old college try. Let's see if we can get that other one to work better. Got a dog going crazy in my house here. Where's the mini? Try that. All right. I think our best bet's going to be the progress bar style here. So we will keep that running for you guys in the corner and just kind of go from there. Try and make it just a little bit bigger. Not sure if we are helping at all with this, but trying our best here. about that for now? Is it a map? No. Does it help? Yeah. And I do have a live timings trap map, so at least I'll be able to take a little bit of a peek on that. Let's get back into what we've got going on here. So right now we're with Botlando, currently the top time in the server, sitting with a 137.791 since we joined. Brett Anderson actually has a 137.635. So he will be sitting pretty comfortable for the time being, as these guys are trying to find an extra second somewhere in the track to catch up to him. Not going to be an easy task, but I'm sure they'll find a way to do so. See, not too far behind, I believe that is going to be it's certainly going to get confusing, but that's going to be Seb Bellew in the number 7 slot, trying to catch up. Ooh, as Butland just get a little bit of a spin here, but continues moving on the pace. Just to give you some times, we're going to look at the live timings. We've got a 137.6 from Brett Anderson, 137.7 from Slay, 137.7 from Botlando, 137.8 from Slay, 137.8 from Seb, 138 flat from Patchy, 138.1 from Rev, and a 138.235 from Wibba. Oh, got a few more here. Wow, a few guys who haven't left yet. So Nick Cruz with a 138.7, the Inferno with a 138.7, and Frank Mena with a 138.7. A few others yet to set times, even in the practice sessions. Oh, looks like got a little bit of a spike there. YouTube is not. Oh boy. We're having some stream quality side issues, unfortunately. Hopefully things aren't going too slowly. Wonder if we might be running the game a little bit hot. Leonard. Got my dog barking over here.
You need to cut it out now. Go to the bedroom by yourself.
Yeah. Okay, got problem solved over there. Not sure if Kia is joining us anytime soon, but we'll keep moving for now. We've got. Oh, that's right. Auto cam's on. That's why I was like, why won't you let me change? All right, there we go. Rev 174 going to be the guy we watch here. 28 minutes of practice to go. He's got a 138.1 according to the timings we've got here. A few others slowly trying to load in on the rookie race, so hopefully we will see them shortly. Looks like they are up to 4 guys over there. We've got 9 who have tested out, and a moment that I know one man in particular has been waiting for, Josh Fulton, using his admin abuse to get a custom livery in for the final 2 weeks of the season, but we caved nonetheless. So here you have it, the long-awaited number 23 car. I'm sure some of you have wondered why he has been in a red livery the past two events, and now you know. But worth the wait. You got that lime green looking beautiful on the track today in a battle to try and keep the Inferno a few points back. Only 2 points separating them currently, but also only 2 points away from the tie for P2. It's going to take a bad race by Slay for anyone to really make some headway there. In fact, two bad races from Slay, so not positive that we will see anything come from that, but worth a shot nonetheless. So we'll take a moment here, check in on the current standings. So across the board in the student class, we've got Ricky Richmond leading pretty strong with Shiloh coming up the rear. Shiloh should be in today's race, so a chance to make up a few points. T Sid joining in at the moment, and then we've got Go Brian, Anchovy, Sour, and True Neutral, all of which we've seen take a couple of laps. So hopefully they'll be joining us. In the rookie class, ETD, Kristen Crafton, and Chris C are in a very, very tight battle for the lead. Both of those guys typically do show up, so I'm hoping we'll see them today, and we'll get a good, strong fight there. Ostrich hoping to pick up a couple points if he can, and if Kristen Crafton and Chris C don't make today's events, that could help Ostrich at least get a shot at P2. In the amateur class, which is part of the events that we'll be viewing today, we have Slay 40 with 63 points leading against Nick Cruz, Brett Anderson, tied for second with 54, and then Josh Fulton with 52, and the Inferno with 50. So that was those point spread we were talking about earlier. Rev's still doing pretty strong, but has a little ways to go. IMJ currently sitting on top of the pro class with 65, followed by Seb Bellew with 56, trying to hold off Frank Mena, who has arrived for today's practice session, so heading out to do a few laps now. And Dan, who was here earlier in the season, not expected to make a return for the final few races, will be holding up P4 with 19 points. In your expert class, we've got Patchy taking a break today, so some free points on the board for Wibba, Botlando, and Osh. Now, Patchy does have some drops remaining, so it's not going to be full points made up, but at least a few. I know Osh looking to come up the rear after missing extra races at the beginning of the season due to a change in schedule, and Wibba hoping to close that gap today if things go well. Orlando, though, looking pretty strong right now, holding up a crazy pace. We'll take a look and try and grab some angles if we can. So perfect timing as they are going to be heading into a fresh lap, so we'll get the best sense of what they've got to offer today. This is going to be the scariest part. That is technically turn one that these guys will have to deal with. I'm not sure just how confident they are that they're going to be able to line up together, but there are people who are going to have to concede. Ooh, as Botlando looking to shave every second off the time possible, but might be looking just a little bit too hard. We'll jump in now with a Inferno heading down the straight in a familiar Maryland car from Bo Ellis. I want to say that's season 2, maybe, possibly even season 3. Swinging through the first chicane with purpose. The Inferno currently sitting with the 138.6, needs to keep it in front of Josh Fulton, who has not set a lap time yet. So the Inferno has a little bit of a cushion at the moment, but wants to send a message early on. The quick drop down to 4th, manages to keep the pace, keep the pressure, and powers through. We are going to have to start naming a few of these. This one easily can be the second chicane, though. Ooh, as a little brush up with the walls from the Inferno does cost them quite a bit of time now. 2 seconds down in their delta, as this is one of the fastest sections of the track. You don't want to hit that full fifth gear just yet, or you get this awkward turn, and then you want to just floor it to the moon all the way through here. As you can see the Inferno doing, watching that telemetry in the bottom left corner of the screen. Absolutely flying with a purpose. The number 77 car having a good third sector. Not particularly their best time on sector 1. We're going to take a look just at some of the timings here if we can. Scroll this down. Top 10. And that. So, top 10 right now, we've got Botlando leading, followed by Seb Bellew, Brett Anderson, Wibba, Slay, Patchy, Rev 174, the Inferno, Nick Cruz, and then Frank Mena. I know those times don't necessarily match what we saw here on our timings, but again, we did leave and reconnect. And this is accounting for some of the private practice times that these guys were able to produce earlier. One thing about these city tracks definitely creates some obstacles for the drone camera to follow, but doing our best to stay in line today. Here, we'll actually switch things up just a little bit since we have the opportunity to, as it looks like there are no track descriptions on today's circuit. We'll do one of these, and you guys can get a little bit of a better sense of where these guys are at. So, not again the perfect solution for the track map situation, but should at least give you a sense of where they're at, which sector, and so on and so forth. We see Botlando now about perfectly halfway through the track and carrying on with some force, as we want to find somebody getting ready to start a fresh one if we can. But we'll stick with Botlando as he enters sector 3. Go from there. 11 guys now slowly braving the track, trying to put their name out, get a few times down, get a sense of what the track is feeling like. Currently 26-degree track temps and 4-kilometer-an-hour wind, as Botlando heads down the start-finish straight for our first followed lap of the evening. Heading through the first chicane, Orlando looked like a little bit of a clip there, but I don't see anything on the live timings. With some force through the gas pump left-hander as he whips into the S's with some speed, slams it down into the DHL corner, and keeps it off the wall, turning into the Crane straight. Second chicane looking good. Ooh, until a little brush up heading down the rail yard. Clean line through Dozer. And manages to keep it off the roll through the helicopter. And keeps the power down past the warehouses. You know, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I think we can keep this named pretty simple. and into the final turn he goes. So on a commentated lap, Bot Lando only brushing a couple of walls, loses 2.5 seconds. We'll chalk that up to broadcaster's curse. Let's take a peek at the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Articulate Fox. Currently whipping through in the 99 car. Let me see something here. Why is Fox not showing up on the standing? I was going to say, we do have Articulate Fox on the standings there. So we will have to make a little adjustment. Just a moment here. Articulate Fox 61. I stand corrected. We have a little bit of a different battle going on than we've been thinking over in the expert end of things. We've at least updated the ticker bar to reflect that. I got to look into why the standings don't reflect that. As I was wondering why Articulate Fox wasn't showing. Let me see if I can do this. Let's do it like this. We're testing things out over here. All right. Kind of fix it on the standings. Not really. We'll have to take a look at that. More so for the next time around. We're going to let it rock for now. We at least got Fox on there. I don't know why his score in particular is all bundled up, but he's got 61, Patchy with 54, Wiba with 49. That is the correct leading standings as far as the expert class goes. So we've got that one at least fixed. And it does look like we have the amateur broadcast is starting to go now. Or the student driver, and all right. Now, we do typically put that one up here for us to watch, but we seem to be having some latency issues today, so not going to poke the bear by any means. Does not seem particularly worth it. Oh, is Josh Fulton struggling currently? to get up to the pace of the Inferno. Looks to be in a nice little battle with Slay, whether he wants to be or not. The 40 car definitely giving him a little run for his money at the moment. So the 23 desperately trying to stay out in front. This is going to give us a good sense to see what the passing opportunities is like, as Slay currently lapping about a second and a half ahead of that 23 car's pace. And is going to certainly be looking for a way by. I believe that car up ahead is going to be the Inferno. So we'll get a 3-car battle within the class. Josh taking it a little wide, sends it into the wall. So we're not going to get a good preview of wheel-to-wheel action just yet. But as we head past the dozer into the sweeping helicopter right-hander, we'll just call it helicopter. Slay definitely has the Inferno in his sights. You know, I hate to say it, but if you guys think this isn't cinematic because it's a little bit foggy and cloudy, this is Jersey. This is the most realistic track we've done. This is what Jersey actually looks like. And it's not cloudy or foggy. There's just usually like a power plant right on the other side of that warehouse there. I don't need to know where in Jersey this is to know that this is the one right next to Newark Airport. Oh, it's called Port Newark, so it better be. But I know exactly where this one is. I can smell this one. Giant Stadium isn't too far from here. And every one in the tri-state area who's ever driven down to Newark knows exactly what I'm talking about. Tommy, thank you. Finally, someone. You know, do you know what I mean when I say you can smell this track from driving down to Giants games? Like, I got family in Staten Island and stuff, but it's like there's that one power plant, or it's not a power plant. It's like that one factory that just pumps out fumes. This is not Jersey hate. I promise. It's not intentional Jersey hate. I promise. Yeah, there you go. You get it. Oh no, yeah, that's the crazy part about it. It's like, but it's just this one stretch of highway. Like, I don't understand why it does that. Well, anyway, this is a crazy tangent. There's also an IKEA right around here. Well, you think they put the IKEA in? Because where would the highway be? I don't know where the highway is supposed to be in relation to this. Kind of was expecting like a little bit of like airportish in nature. Oh, here we go. So it's just like a city skyline. Generic. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like a place specific one. They did a good job of blending that in there. Anywho, Patchy making his way through where's he at now? The S's. Going on a lot of tangents today. But Articulate Fox currently sitting on top of the board with a 136.4. Wibba half a second behind with a 137. Actually going to make some ground on Patchy currently as it stands, but Lando very close behind, showing they've got the pace keep things competitive today. Ooh, that Greg's car with a hard misshift, and there goes the engine. A little embarrassing as it was on the broadcast. But Patchy will take it back to the pits, and Botlando will be the next victim of the broadcaster's curse. I thought Viz had a slot, but perhaps not. Just going to take a look at something on the back end side of things. The one downside to not having the co-host with me at the moment. You guys gotta bear with me while I look into some of the other things. All right. Just trying to make sure we get everybody who wants to be in the race in a race. We do possibly have one more joining over in the rookie end of things. Currently, we've got 12 on the grid here, and we've got 7 over in the rookie end. So trying to get them a little bit more action for today's events. As we follow Josh Fulton into the final 5.5 minutes here. Lost my train of thought for a good bit. This number 23 car certainly looking spectacular. Ooh, I like the way the green changes. As the sun comes out more and more, you guys will see some of these colors come to light. And I'm sure we'll do the backdrop of Jersey a little bit more love. But we'll stick with Josh Fulton here as he heads into a clean one through the high-speed chicane towards the sweeping left-hander. I can call these the gas pumps. My game volume or my voice volume? Because I can give it a little nudge. See if that bumps you a little bit. Looks like we will have still the same 7 for now, as we see some of them starting to push some times off the thing. Does game need to be a little louder still, or is it good here? You guys are my eyes and ears. I'm trusting you. You haven't really been commentating on it, but Josh Fulton is coming away with a full second off the lap now. This is going to put him a little bit ahead of the Inferno, who is his big competition for today. But with such a high-speed track and a few tight chicanes, times need to be a little bit further apart for comfort as I slowly yawn my way through this one. We'll check in with the Inferno as the ball's now in their court to shave a little bit of time off, which they're currently doing as they head towards the final corner. A strong exit here could be the difference on their lap, but they actually lose a chunk of time, maybe an awkward line through there, but they'll shave off time only a touch at only a little at a time. Oh, I was gonna say we'll stick with them through one more, but when you hit that chicane like that, there's not a ton you can do to recover. And same goes for Rev, as we saw him power through. But let's take a peek with Wibba. Wibba and Seb currently contesting Fox's time to the best of their ability. Seb seems to have found a strong line this week. This is going to be very good for his overall points, trying to hold off Frank Mena. No signs of I Am Jai as practice slowly comes to a close, although this is a simpler track, so I can imagine we'll see some later entries as a few of these guys will probably opt to skip the practice. With carrying some outlap pace here as they're trying to keep just a little bit of distance between themselves and the car in front, Patchy. Patchy does have a reasonable pace, but needs to keep at least a second or two between them if Wibba is planning to set the fastest lap on this go. This will be Wibba's last attempt before the end of practice, so trying to make the most of their opportunity. One thing to consider is a lot of these guys probably aren't too worried about running low fuel. They're going to be keeping probably about half tanks to a third tank in the car just so that they can run as many practice laps in a row as possible. So by the time they get to low fuel, they are starting to not lose any grip as these tires don't really go too easy, but it's just not at its peak performance. So we'll certainly see some new doors open up in qualifying, and per usual, we'll see the track get a little hotter along the way. You can hear that rumbling as we get closer and closer to the car through that parking lot section as they head back down the Crane Straight. A 10th is what Wibba needs to find just to make it up on his own time. Keeps it off the wall and keeps good pace to keep going as he heads through the train yard and into helicopter. This is always a big one. You see Wibba, another one who keeps it hammered down in fourth before releasing it into fifth. Ooh, not even here. So still keeping it at the very peak fourth gear all the way through that. It's going to be a big difference than a few of these other racers we've seen today. And he's got one car in front. It's going to unfortunately hold him up. Not enough to where that was really the difference in his time. Only, going to make up a second or two as we see Patchy pull off to the side and possibly a little netcode situation there with the Inferno. Josh Fulton comes across the line to finish his final lap. That one going to be a 140 flat. Nothing to really help him out. Peek over to Seb Bellew, who is going to be the driver on the mark. Oh, or I guess Nick Cruz, according to our auto cam. It's got a little bit of a mind of its own today. No MX5s this season, Tom? I've been meaning to ask you. Wasn't feeling the competition? Thought you were too good for it? You can just tell everybody that you think they suck. It's okay. It's only a permanent broadcast that we're going to share with everybody. But it's super private. His silence speaks volumes, folks. Keeping an eye on Josh Fulton here. I mean, he's kind of just on an outlap at this point, but getting a little bit of practice in and looking pretty good while doing it. No personal best just yet, but certainly has the potential to find some new time as he gets further along the track here. He is going to be the last one to come across the line and probably end our practice session relatively shortly as we get ready to head towards qual and our two 20-minute races for the day. All right, we're going to chalk it up to he probably just stepped away for a minute. We'll be a little bit more polite there. But we all know the truth. So at the end of practice, let's take a look now. We still got a few guys out on, actually qualifying began over in the rookie side of things, but at the end of practice, we've got Articulate Fox with a 136.4, Seb 136.7, Wibba with a 137, Botlando with a 137, Brett Anderson with a 137, Slay with a 137, Patchy with a 137, Rev with a high 137, and Nick Cruz with a 138. I know I was rounding at the end there, but just to show you how close together those grids were. Actually, those were just the recent times. I got off track at the end. A 137.8 is actually what Nick Cruz has, and a 138.3 from Josh and Frank, 138.6 from the Inferno. So extremely, extremely close times altogether. Only 2 seconds currently separating top to bottom of this grid. These guys certainly have their work cut out for them. And it is going to be a drag race to that first chicane. I am a little nervous. I'm not sure how these guys are going to get through it together. They are going to have to kind of work together for it. It's not like anything they've done before, that's for sure. Over in the rookie end of things, it looks like we've only got 7 guys taking on that challenge together, so might have a little bit better luck there. But speaking of luck, Brett Anderson's not going to leave anything to chance and heads right out to get the best of the clean air that he can. Oop, looks like we weren't locked on there. But heading through the first chicane, let's actually take a second and see if anybody gets close enough to cause issues. Nothing just yet, but we do see Wibba and Pashy pretty close together, so we're going to loop in with that. Not necessarily fight, but these cars track each other. You can hear the rumbling through the parking lots as they make their way into Crane Street. 11 racers ready to go as we head into qualifying. 28-degree track temps, 5-kilometer-an-hour wind for these guys, so really nothing to affect them too strong. That is obviously one of the big downsides to the map situation, is not being able to see that. But we will get that sorted out for the next one. So see these guys starting to put a little bit of space between each other, but not too much, as I think they're going to kind of just rely on each other to hold the pace. We do see some cars starting to back up and split off as we look at the little markings below. I don't want to call it a map. It's not exactly what it is. As we see everybody coming out on their lap. We're going to stick with this pack of 3 here, Wibba, Brett, and Patchy, as they head around for the first clean laps of the evening. So Patchy accidentally tapping 5th gear, it sounds like, as he heads into a high 4th, turning into the parking lot. Wibba now with the purple sector 1, so he did have the best time through that first bit, the car in the middle. That will be the 48 car. Brett Anderson still up in front. It's funny how Wibba had a faster time. Must have really caught up to Brett there in some sector. Patchy hugging that wall as close as the guys in front. Wibba taking a little bit of a toe now from Brett Anderson. We'll see what happens into the final turn. That's going to be a tough spot for both cars to work together and keep their lap times. We are going to see Wibba come through with a 138, sorry, 136.96 in a purple sector 2. So a very strong performance by Wibba. Let's take a look at some of the other battles going on. The Inferno looking to stay in front of Josh Fulton. Does so by only 5/10 on that last lap. Definitely has to find at least a second or two on this lap if they can. So we'll try and see where the majority of this time was lost. Currently, though, looking to be about on pace with their delta. I think holding it through 5th gear through this sector is going to be one of the big things costing them time. A little brush up with the wall there, but they keep moving. And that's what's important, is just that momentum. As we see Bot Lando rejoin for our 12th man on the grid. These runoffs barely are runoffs, so if you're going to turn in with somebody else, you both have to commit to making these turns together. Selfish play may not end well for either cars, as sandwiching certainly can happen. The Inferno shaving off 7/10, now 8/10 of their time. We'll see how the final turn goes for them. But certainly a good start to things, as they find themselves nearly a second up. That's going to help them out for sure. Get them, I want to say, just shy of P7. Let's bounce back to Josh Fulton, who's probably going to come along the line now and won't see an improvement. So this is now ball in Josh's court to try and get ahead. This is one of the big battles here. Battle between P4 and P5. Both of these guys trying to get within striking range of Brett Anderson and Nick Cruz. So the Inferno looking with the best chance to do so. But Nick Cruz is floating ahead right now. Nearly a full second up on the rest of these guys. Josh is starting to find a little bit of time as he's making it now into the second chicane, halfway through his lap and 3/10 up. Could use about another second. Not sure where he lost it, but as he heads through the rail yard, he's at least making good progress. So he's another one who takes it mostly in 4th gear around here. Does seem to be helping these guys gain a lot of pace, as he's currently at least on track to get near the Inferno. Still needs to find another 3/10 to get past, and both of them now need to find another half second beyond that to get back into a competitive state. Fulton had it there for just a moment. We did see 1 second on the delta. but it will drop now to only a half-second improvement, sitting with a 138.9 as the temperature and winds do change. So the wind is going to be a crosswind on the main straight and the back straight. Not really too many areas that it will help everybody out. Barring where Seb Bellew is at the moment, or rather just coming out of. So let's see where that was. That's going to be through the rail yard right now. These guys will see some improvement due to that 15-kilometer-an-hour wind. 30-degree track temps, though, do mean they'll have a little bit more grip in the tire and an easier time getting them up to temp out of the gate. So might see some faster times with the low fuel runs. But Wibba currently leading by about half a second. Rev not going to see improvement on this lap. Let's take a look over at Articulate Fox, only improving by a tenth at the moment. Needs to find another half second somewhere to get competitive with the 48 car. Currently struggling to do so as they take a wide run into the warehouse straight. Taking a wide run under the crane into the warehouse straight. There you go. Starting to figure out where we are. And turning down the final turn. Articulate Fox struggling to find that time here. So 6 minutes remaining. With the current lap times, he's going to get about 4 more laps in. Probably 3. As I'm sure at some point he'll pull in just to get one more set of fresh tires. And another low fuel run. Take a look over at Patchy. Does not seem to be showing improvement on this lap, but Seb Bellew, on the other hand, narrowly fighting with it as he finishes Sector 2 a little bit off the pace. I mean, ahead of his current Delta, but a strong Sector 1. He should be a few tenths up right now, where he may or may not be able to even pass Nick Cruz. Seb was one that we did see a 136 from during the practice time, so hopefully he can get one in shortly. Sorry, I am back. Still coming over that cold. Don't mind me. But we got Seb Bellew now, enjoying the hot air and the hot temperatures as he is 3 tenths up on his time through parking lot into the crane straight. And keeping a pace that might get him back into the top 5. I know he's slipping up on the times now, but he's got a full sector and a half to go. A lot of place for improvement. Good speed here through helicopter. And he did seem to lose a 10 through there, but it looked pretty quick, so I'm not sure what exactly he did. Maybe he had a tow at some point, and that's kind of affecting what we're seeing in this third sector, because that did look like one of the quicker lines we've seen through there. And a strong exit through the final turn. Still won't see enough to take a position, but not much more than that. The Inferno, though, getting to a 38.1, so just shy of that 37 club. Josh Fulton heading towards the end of his lap will need to start a new one to find that improvement. We'll check into the parking lots here as the Inferno looking to find those final 3 tenths on Nick Cruz if he can, or if they can. Now they are 3/10 behind on their own delta, so it is going to be a little hard. It'll depend on where they struggled in that previous lap. Not a lot of time left to go. As we see, Rev 174 may actually be on a hot lap, so we do want to check in with them. And that moment of fear is going to cost the remainder of the lap. Josh Fulton did teleport to pits, but unfortunately, Rev had already, the Inferno had already lit up to try and avoid the collision there. 2 minutes and 18 seconds to go until the race kicks off here. Everybody's starting to head out for their final odds and ends. I do see in the rookie race, we do have our 7 racers, the top time of a 1:39.1. So that's split right on the cusp again. Ooh, looks like Josh Fulton disconnects for a moment. Hopefully just to adjust a few things. Patchy, see, relatively early on in the lap, at least not behind too much on the delta, but that's going to be an awkward entrance into the rail yard, and with that loses quite a bit of time. Patchy not going to be seeing improvement on this go. Slave 40, I'm not sure what happened there. Slave 40 had a green sector 1, a green sector 2, and a very, very slow sector 3. I'm not sure what we missed out on there, but did seem to see a promising lap from them. We'll check in with Brett Anderson, who also gets cursed. So I think these guys are seeing these positive deltas and just losing their James, I have just kind of always said it that way, and he hasn't said anything about it, but I am curious. I will shoot him a message. Oh, you know what? He's in the other voice chat. Let's take a peek for a minute here. Hey, Seb.
Yeah.
How do you say your name?
Bolio?
Bolio.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Good luck. All right. Yeah. It's Bolio. So I was not close, I don't think. But anyway, speaking of Bolio, we'll head over to the man himself. The number 22 car, rocking that 711. He's only a 10th down, but this is the final lap of this is the final chance for him, and I don't think he's going to be getting that improvement. Speaking of improvements, I don't know where this happened, but Wibba and Articulate Fox ending up with a 1:36.462. So that is going to be very interesting to see, as these guys are right on time or right on par with each other. Slave 40 of the amateur class right behind them with a 1:36.7, followed by Brett Anderson. So we're definitely seeing some times we may not have expected to at this point. Nothing wrong with it per se. Trying to see if anybody else who's out and about is still on pace for a lap. As we see, Nick Cruz is a little bit off the pace. The Inferno not looking too bad, but is pulling off of this one. And we see everybody else has pulled into pits. He is a Canadian, James. I want to say that's French Canadian. That's why it's got more of a French pronunciation. It's just kind of why the Bellew was my attempt at a French pronunciation, but I guess it's more of a Beaulieu. It's like what Nico's cousin wants to do. All right, I am back as we get ready for the race action here. So we've got 12 cars on the grid over on our end here. Looks like we've got 7 racing strong already over in the rookie end of things. Llama is the one off to a commanding lead over there. Give you a little play-by-play radio commentary as best I can. All right, sorry, I am back. My kettle went off at one hell of a time. But we've got Articulate Fox up front with Wibba just behind, followed by Slay. I think that's going to be Brett Anderson, Lando, Apache, Rev174, Sebelu, Nick Cruz, the Inferno, Josh Fulton, and Frank Mena. We've got 20 seconds left to the lights here at Port Newark. Sorry, I did run for borderline no reason there. As we finally get ready to go here, the street lights are lit up and we are locked on. So we see 2 cars get one hell of a start back there. I think it's going to be Rev174 and Frank Mena as they try and work their way up the grid. We got 4 wide. Ooh, and already a massive pileup back there as we head towards the chicane. Many cars not even making it to it. These guys are really just trying to gently make their way around, as I think that's Josh Fulton who gets caught up there. We're going to stick with the chaos for just a moment, as this is where we knew the action was going to be. And we've got a little bit of a 3 wide situation going on not too far ahead. We'll see if these guys are all able to make it through this next section cleanly, as the S's do turn into quite a tight section, followed by a tight turn. These guys leaving each other a little bit more space now. So we'll look up front to Articulate Fox, just in time to see Wibba with a nice save. Same goes for Lando, who finds himself side by side with Slay heading through the rail yard. This is a real quick section, but they're able to get in line with each other before things get out of control. Man, we see Slay taking a very tight line through there. I want to bounce around to some of the other action, but these guys are really hammering it out. We see Slay looking for an opportunity, might even go for a dive through the final corner to try and get in front. Slay was the one with the pace in qualifying to try and make moves to the two up front, but Botlando not going to let him by easily. These guys are not in the same class, but Botlando does need to get up to his mates up in front. 8 seconds separating those who survived the first chicane and those who did not. Botlando sees it coming and gets a little bit out of the way, uses the draft to his advantage as Slay cuts to the inside to try and defend that line through the first turn. Both racers have to take it a little wide, and Botlando forced to look for another way around as the Inferno, we turned in to another unfortunate moment for a few of these racers through the chicane. That's going to be Seb Bellew getting back, or sorry, Beaulieu getting back on the gas here, going to catch back up to Brett Anderson and Rob 174. I think this chicane is getting the best of these guys at the moment. Seb having to let up for just a minute to make sure there's no contact with Rev 174, but that gives Brett the chance to pull alongside into the S's. Again, a high-speed section that's tough to go too wide through. And thankfully they don't have to, as Seb is not looking for a repeat of the earlier incidents. Botlando looking for a move on Slay. You can see Wibba and Articulate Fox only separated by half a second up in front. Botlando's going to look for his chance now into the final turn. Is he able to do it? He does take the same line as Slay, but is he going to be later on the brakes in the same manner? Actually, much earlier, but tries to get a better runoff. And he does into the first straight. So the 57 car will get by. Slay now looking for a move, going to try and use that draft to his advantage. Won't get it through the chicane, but might get it through the back half of turn one. Thank you. Ooh, and a brush up with the walls there. This is going to be a problem as the rest of the grid coming in strong. That's going to be Patchy and Nick Cruz. Nick Cruz with an amazing save there. Josh Fulton as well. You see him going nearly sideways. Both racers well off the pace, so Josh is going to be able to get through both of them before the S's. Nick going to try and slot in and use that to his advantage. And Josh's dive does pull off as he's able to get by. Narrowly avoids contact with Slay as Slay easy on the brakes. Loses a few positions doing so, but manages to keep their race moving. Oh, and as I say that, a little run-in with the wall turns this into a battle between Frank and Slay as Nick and Josh start to run up front. These guys are in the same class, looking for a way to stay in front of Slay, as Patchy, Botlando, Wibba, and Fox are in a battle of their own. We do see Wibba starting to get a little bit closer up front, so we're going to tune into that battle in just a moment. But we'll see how this shakes up. Nick Cruz does get the pass on Josh Fulton, the 23 car, looking good, but losing the spot. I do see Seb Bellew made a pass on Brett Anderson in the back part of the grid as the battle for P5 continues strong. These guys are close enough that it is hard to look away. Just under 15 minutes remaining. We didn't check in with the track and wind, but we got 33 degrees on the track and only a 3-kilometer-an-hour wind. So wind, it is safe to say, is not a factor. I think everybody's been scarred by this front chicane enough that we'll see some clean racing through there, and it'll give us a moment to check in on Fox and Wibba. These guys making the turn into the Crane Straight. Wibba definitely close enough to be in drafting range. Slowly falling out, though. I think had a little bit of an issue with the exit, but really doing a good job of putting the pressure on Fox and keeping within range. These guys are in a battle of their own. We do see Seb Bellew has a light run-in with the environment. Currently 3 seconds off the back of the pace. Again, these are going to be two 20-minute races. Ooh, as Frank Mena with a nice reaction to avoid Josh Fulton. Fulton now falling back, as I think Inferno might be able to make use of that. This is a very high-speed section that Josh just lost the pace through. Inferno is going to be able to at least get alongside into the helicopter. Josh was able to get up to speed, so he'll have to make something happen into the final turn if he can. The 77 car tucking into that draft of Josh in front. He is going to get right alongside. Josh is going to swing to the outside. I think he's going to look for that move that we saw from Lando earlier, but not going to be necessary, as Inferno knows the exit into this straight is important. Loses a little bit of time on the entrance, but makes it up almost immediately. Slay looking for a chance on Nick Cruz in front. We saw that drop down to 0.2 of a second for a moment, so we could see that move coming soon. But we've got two battles we need to keep checking in on. The Inferno does look to be the one with the pace to make something happen. Narrowly avoids contact by swinging wide. Is going to have to pull back just a little bit into the S's. And it's the fifth gear through this section that I think is costing a little bit of time still. Hopefully he goes for it in that lower gear at some point, but the running with the wall by Fulton is going to give Inferno the chance they were looking for. This is another tight chicane, so Josh is going to have to fall back. And as long as Inferno keeps it off the wall here, which he does, he will be in front. It looks like Wibba may have had a little bit of a spin as he finds himself now in a wheel-to-wheel battle with Botlando. And Botlando, the one later on the brakes. Wibba not liking that inside angle, trying to get back behind to tuck in for the draft, is going to need to reassess for a moment, as we've got Slay and Nick Cruz going side by side into the final turn. A lot of action all around the grid tonight. We've got these three going for one hell of a train. I don't think any of them know what's coming, as they're going to have to make decisions. Frank Mena, the first one to make the move. Ooh, and Nick tries to pull the hammer through, almost does, but just a light brush with the wall is going to cost him a spot, possibly two, as the Inferno starts to move in again on one of those higher speed sections, and it's going to be hard for him to get by. Actually, the Inferno did pass Josh. We did cover that one due to a run-in with the wall on Fulton's end, and it looks like Josh is looking for a way to get that back. Before we switch over, Frank is going to get the position on Slave 40, dropping now to P6. Articulate Fox starting to find themselves in a little bit of a no man's land, as there's 10 seconds separating him and the man behind, so it is his race to lose. Doesn't need to push for any hot laps. Speaking of push, we see Wibba starting to get a little bit closer to Botlando as they head into another lap. This is going to be lap 7 as we hit the halfway point. So starting to look like these guys are going to have a 14-15 lap race, so a lot of time left for these things to get decided. Seb and Brett Anderson have been fighting for quite some time, slowly creeping up on Rev 174, and actually all three of them have slowly been creeping up on Josh Fulton, Nick Cruz, and the Inferno, who find themselves slowly getting into a three-way battle for P7. We want to keep our eyes here for just a moment, as Wibba looking for a way by Botlando, tucking in close for the draft, but we're going to have a little bit of wheel-to-wheel action between Nick Cruz and Josh Fulton. Josh looking for a way through, but can't find the outside lane. Will tuck back in before the S's, as both of them now fall outside of a second to the Inferno, but only for a moment. Ooh, as Nick has a slight run in with the wall. So that's going to give Josh the opportunity to chase back down the Inferno in front. Both of them want to get in front of Nick Cruz, but Josh looking to keep his gap if he can to the 77 car in front. You see Wibba finally getting a nose in on Bot Lando, but it's going to be just a nose as neither racer gets a clean line into the start straight. And Wibba will have to set up another passing opportunity. So, Wibba through the S's, not finding too much time to the man in front. Now starting to fall back just a little bit. On their previous lap, Wibba was about 2/10 back. So I think at this point, they're both focused on just getting to the end. They are starting to chip away slowly at that lead to the man in front. You see the damage on Seb Bellew's car that we just peeked in on does take quite its toll after a while. As you can see, shattered mirrors, shattered windshield. It's going to be a little difficult to see, but even with that handicap, Seb's starting to catch closer to the 174 in front. Also known as the number 62 car. And that engine you hear behind is actually going to be of Brett Anderson, as he is not out of the hunt by any means. Watching these guys start to battle each other, as Rev's going to have to start taking some defensive lines pretty soon. And Brett is ready to take advantage of that. Only 1.4 seconds back, looking to make the most of that opportunity when it comes. Seb slowly getting to drafting range. It's going to give him that opportunity relatively soon. We do see some gaps starting to form. We got a battle for P2 still going on, a little battle for P5, and definitely a battle for P7. But right now, the battle for P10, as they get closer to P9, is where the action is. Seb now within that draft range. We've been sitting with Brett for a little bit, but we're going to have to get a good view of where this move comes. These guys are getting into a hard passing section here, and Seb knows it. He's been the victim of one or two incidents throughout today's first race. They do have another 20 minutes of waiting at the end of this one. Seb doing a good job of being patient, waiting for Rev to make an opportunity and open a door rather than force his way through. But that patience is coming at a cost, as Brett, upset we left him with the drone cam, wedges his way back into the view. And a little run up with the wall from Nick Cruz, and we've got a party going. Seb and Brett able to avoid contact, but Seb having to come off the gas to do so. Going to give Brett the advantage as he moves through with some pace, a little bit more pace than Rev 174 in front as well. Points wise, this is going to be very big for the guys in the amateur class, as Nick is currently one of the or Nick and Brett are the two with 54 points that the Inferno and Josh are trying to stay in front of. They both need to get ahead of Slay, though, and they seem to be having a hard time doing so. We're going to peek back with Seb just to get a view of all three involved in this battle for P9. 11 seconds separating them and the man in front, as Brett Anderson puts up a purple sector 1 last lap. So certainly seems to have found his pace here. moment. Speaking of pace, Brett has it heading into the crane straightaway. He's going to at least go side by side. He has to pull off because it's just too tight of a chicane followed by another tight turn. That's going to give Seb the chance to move in on these guys through this high-speed rail yard. Now he's going to have to either go for the bump draft or try and take an interesting lane through the helicopter. He swings wide to try and get the lineup for some big acceleration underneath the crane. And doesn't quite have the pace to make a move yet, but the move from Rev 174 on Brett does turn south and at least gives Seb a position. The number 22 car looking to try and get past the 62 if possible. Brett getting back on the gas does find themselves a few seconds behind Nick Cruz with only a little more than 2.5 minutes remaining. So will be tough to make something like that up at this time. There's still a few more battles left. There's still a few more laps to go. Nothing is set in stone. We know how some of these battles can end, as this number 22 car we've been locked on with for a bit knows all too well, getting right alongside the 62 car for just a moment, forces the mistake. Now, when we say that, it is not the 22 car's fault, but definitely applies the pressure to the car in front and able to take advantage of the opportunity and get by into P9 and start his hunt to the number 8 car. Only 11.7 seconds to make up in 2 laps. If anyone can find a way to do it, it is the French Canadian, but it is quite the ask. I'm not sure we're going to see that one play out. Slay 40, on the other hand, has a decent shot at Frank Mena and a crack at the top 5. So we'll see just how that one goes. Oop, let me adjust the view there. Brett Anderson actually is going to have a chance at Nick Cruz in just a moment. Oh, and Wibba's going to have a chance at Bot Lando here as they go alongside each other into a tight chicane, actually barely wide enough for 2 cars. I wasn't sure if it would be, but they stuck together and were able to pull it off. Bot Lando giving a little bit of a flash to say that was quite the interesting move, but continuing racing they go. I don't think this battle is over, but neither are any of the other ones we've been watching along the track. Slay looking for a chance at Frank Mena, possibly went for a move that didn't pan out. See Rev 174 as we pull in. I think the same thing might have happened there. Brett Anderson, is he going to have the same happen to him into the crane straight? This seems to be the area. Or it might just be running with the wall, as everybody seems to be doing so. Bot Lando gets the position back from Wibba. I think Wibba maybe let him have it back. I'm not positive, as we didn't see any collisions with the wall or anything on the live timings. Maybe he felt that move wasn't the one he wanted to take P2 on when the championship is getting this close to the end. Close these guys go, but not close enough for contact. Contact does come between Slay and Frank Mena, as it's a little bit of a bump draft situation at first, but I think they get the message that this is going to be the final lap, and they have begun the push. I do see Wibba now over a second away from Bot Lando. Hard to make up with only a sector and a half to go. It will take a mistake from the man in front, but a mistake comes for Slay, or rather for Frank Mena, and Slay able to take a little bit of an advantage of it. Oh, but get wedged into the wall. These guys are not in the same class, so that is a little bit unfortunate to see. as the Inferno may be able to make use of this chance. We're going to just peek over to the front here. I know you are curious to see how some of these guys are able to cross the line, or rather, what order these guys are able to cross the line in. We see Red 174 and Seb Bellew also having a battle of their own. But we're going to tuck back in as we may see some big dives here through the final turn of race one. Slay looking for a way to get alongside the Inferno, coming in a little bit too hot. Might be enough for Josh Fulton. Oh, who isn't able to get through. And we do have a shootout there at the end. Oh, and we almost missed it. I think you're able to see it off at the edge, but Frank Mena and Slay 140 did end up shooting out to the end. Slay finishing it off with a 41.009 away from the lead lap, and Frank Mena 41.035. Unfortunate that we missed the end of that battle there. Definitely was a good one to watch all around, as we saw the Inferno and Josh looking for their opportunities. But certainly strong race one from all these guys, as they got a few minutes now to mentally prepare for this second one. We do see the countdown has begun for race two over in the student driver and rookie section. Not a whole bunch joining in on their grid today. They are in a reverse grid, so it looks like Rick Nicholson might have taken the lead there, followed by Ricky Richmond, Ostrich, ETD, Sid, Alama, and Oirig. But they do all head through for race one, and I don't see any warning signs or contact signs through the first chicane, so it seems like they learned their lesson over in the student driver and rookie side of things. Have these guys over in this end is another conversation, but one that we certainly look forward to finding out with you guys. Strong finishing all around. We ended up with Articulate Fox on top, followed by Botlando, Wibba, Patchy, Slay 40, Frank Mena, The Inferno, Josh Fulton, Seb Bellew, Rev 174, Nick Cruz, and Brett Anderson. Again, a very strong showing by the entire grid there for the first race. A little bit of misfortune, a lot of bit of misfortune for the first lap or two, but everyone started to figure it out, give each other the space, and it was smooth sailing from there. Now, these reverse grids are always interesting because you got those faster guys in the back. Sometimes that does stretch the chaos out a few more laps than you typically do have, but we'll see how things go. We like to think lessons have been learned since the first time around. So, as we wait for race two to start in the pro class, I do have an update for the student and rookie class. We have Llama out front, Ostrich in P2, T-Sid P3, ETD behind, Ricky Richmond, Rick Nicholson, and Oirig. So it looks like some leads have shaken up already as they got theirs underway. Speaking of underway, let's take a look at our grid. We've got Brett Anderson in the back, which is actually going to be very good for him. He was one of the hot lappers, followed by Nick Cruz, 174, Seb Bellew, Josh Fulton, the Inferno. Then we've got Frank Mena, Slay, Patchy, Wibba, Botlando, and Articulate Fox. So nice, neat 12-man grid here today. 14 seconds remaining, 32 degrees on the track, so a little bit cooler, and 11-kilometer-an-hour headwind down this front straight, which hopefully these guys are prepared for. As the lights are on, and away we go. Brett Anderson to take us off. Again, some phenomenal starts out back as these guys are already going 4 wide through some sections. Wibba looking to get a nose in and maybe turn at 5 if he can. Possibly going to have to look for some bump drafting opportunities. We'll see who's learned their lesson. And the answer is just about everybody, as we see at least the full grid make it through. Some guys lose a little bit of time trying to do a 2-wide situation, and I think a third man gets caught up in the mix as well. As we see the hammer going down and a little bit of chaos here through the S's. We do have a spin there from Rev 174. As everybody taking different lines through the parking lot. You see here the cacophony of the rumbles of these MX5s. They're begging to get back onto clean ground. Clean ground they do. We got the shootout between Josh Fulton and the Inferno as scheduled. Both racers, though, finding a way through cleanly into the rail yard. Let's take a second to look at the grid. Brett Anderson comfortably up front, rocketing away those lap times with 2 purple sectors now, trying to get even further in front if possible. Nick Cruz defending from Seb Bellew as they head under the crane through the warehouses. Oh, and a little bit of a wave there from Nick Cruz. I think it's contact as Wibba flashing the lights to Seb Bellew to let him know that he may want to hold back to swap positions there. But Seb, a man on a mission, as we get a 3 wide, nearly a squeeze on the 23 car as he escapes with his life. He didn't really have any control of the situation, but it ended up okay for him there. Looking up front, seems like we're going to get a single file line through the chicane on their end. And everybody's chosen a position here as well. We'll grab in with, well, we meant to grab in with Patchy there, the man behind Botlando, in the number 4 car, as he gets a front row seat to some of this action in the S's. It looks like Botlando and Fox getting a little bit of some movement going, and Nick Cruz tries to join in himself. Seems like some of these collisions are actually helping people out, or helping people straighten out, as we see the Inferno, Frank Mena, and Slay 40 all involved in some rubbin' is racing, which is going to give the Inferno the acceleration to pull through on the rail yard and bring the rest of the grid right up to them. Wibba and Seb now have been set free to chase down Brett Anderson in front. Brett still cranking away purple sectors wherever he can. Currently holds purple sector 2 and 3 on this lap. He's got a purple sector 1. So definitely banking away the times. We're just trying to take a peek on these guys out back to make sure that we don't miss any passing opportunities or sudden crashes. As we've seen so far, this 2-wide racing has been nice and comfy, but they're hitting an opportunity where they're not going to be able to do that any longer, and they're going to have to make a move. Who gets out of the way first is the big question. We'll jump in with Articulate Fox as everybody slots in nicely, and they pull back alongside each other to resume the side-by-side racing wherever they can. Gonna jump to the back of this pack for just a moment with Patchy. And just in time as we see Articulate Fox get caught up and 4 cars caught in the madness. Patchy, unfortunately, tried his best to get out of the way, but didn't have anywhere to run. Able to pick up a couple spots in the mix, though, now up to P8 through the parking lots. As the pack gets a little bit split, we'll switch over to Wibba looking for a move on Seb Bellew. If these guys spend too much time fighting, they're not going to be able to catch up to Brett Anderson ahead. Wibba, though, does manage to find the line through underneath the crane, but Seb's got the acceleration. Oh, and a little bit of contact, a big spin there. Seb Bellew also gets hit. I think that's going to be the Inferno, gets clipped in the recovery. And we've got a few racers now looking to get by. Wibba getting back on the gas there, realizes there's not too much they can do following the second collision. Rev 174 going to pick up a spot, and Seb trying to get back up towards the top where they can. So we still have a pack going, but for a little bit of a different battle now. This is now turned into a hunt for P7 at the moment. Not to say that they can't get further ahead. Oh, as Seb gets clipped, and so does Articulate Fox by that leaping wall. It does just jump out at you. And once again, someone getting caught in the crossfire. This time the number 23 car finds himself all the way at the back of the grid. Still 14 minutes remaining. And as we see, the chaos is consistent. So who's to say when the next one will come? Frank Mena and Articulate Fox, though, the battle at hand in P9. Articulate Fox now with a little bit of open air starting to crawl away. We'll take a look over at Bot Lando, who was lapping pretty comfortably in the previous race. Struggling to get through traffic, though, here in race 2. We're 6 minutes in. So losing a little bit of time and opportunity along the way. As everybody just trying to close whatever gaps have been created by the chaos, not even the lap times themselves. Patchy with a purple sector 1 this go around. Looking for a way to capitalize on that. Finds himself 1.5 seconds out of this battle. We'll be tuning in on his point of view relatively soon. We don't see them close enough for any worry just yet. On the other hand, Nick Cruz getting a little bit close for comfort. Same with Frank Mena and Seb Bellew. It's going to be an interesting area for this, but Seb slots in front to let him know that he will be taking the lead through this chicane. Frank gladly lets him go. Both of them have more than enough experience of what can go wrong. Don't think they're looking for any repeats. We'll swing back up to the battle for P3 as Bot Lando looking for the passing opportunity on Nick Cruz, sees the chicane coming up and will let off just a little bit to let the 29 car in, but hammers back on the gas to try and stay within the drafting range through this longer straight. And Railiard does not give him the opportunity to close the gap that he was looking for, but does make small improvements through helicopter. As Nick finds himself creeping within the draft of Slay 40 up ahead. So Lando is going to have to work a little bit harder as that 29 car is going to start to get pulled. What's up, Kaz? Sorry, just noticing your message. Oh, actually, you just sent your message. I'm right on time. Awesome. Lando moving strong, but not strong enough to get into the drafting range. And actually, we're going to see that number 4 car of Patchy right behind. This is definitely turned into a 4-man fight for P3. So that final podium spot up for grabs here with 11 minutes to go. And all it really is going to take is one mistake to make it a battle for P2 or even a battle for the lead. Yes, Brett Anderson lapping at a comfortable low 137 pace right now. Wibba only able to close the gap a few tenths per lap. So at this rate, that isn't going to be enough. Wibba's going to have to pull into the bag of trips and start pulling out those 136s that we saw during the practice and qualifying sessions. Apache still just getting a front row seat to the action, not quite getting an opportunity to make use of it. As the Articulate Fox, on the other hand, is going to get through the second chicane into the railway, or the rail yard. And that acceleration is massive. The 77 car must have had some sort of an incident, as we see Articulate Fox kind of run away pretty quickly there. About Lando deep in the rear of the 29 car, getting full use of that draft. Gonna pull alongside and go for a late break opportunity to at least take away the line, hopefully gain some acceleration out of it, but that 29 car able to keep it off the wall and will push through. So about Lando going to be a little bit reliant on the draft. Meanwhile, Apache able to take the clean line that he was looking for and slots right through the chicane with ease. So not up on his time, but is up with the pack. These guys are definitely in a battle. It's turning into a little bit more of a battle for P4 as Slay starting to walk as the defense continues behind. Defensive driving will only get you so far in these races. At some point, you need to start gaining places yourself. And unfortunately, Nick Cruz loses 2 positions there after a brush up with the wall. Still real close to the action and within drafting range of the 4 car. Oh, and both cars have a run up with the wall, but the 29 car able to get back together. Or get back on the pace. Patchy now finds himself behind Articulate Fox. A lot of open air between him and the Inferno behind, or at least there was. The Inferno's going to have a lot more speed through this straight and a little bit of contact into the helicopter. Patchy going to try and stay in front to work his way towards the Inferno, or towards Articulate Fox ahead. But the Inferno is within drafting range, so going to try and make use of this opportunity. Still ahead of Fulton, which is his main goal for today, to get back into the battle for P4, if not P3. Brett Anderson and Slay, though, having a real good race. Actually, Brett Anderson, Slay, and Nick Cruz all having pretty good races there. So, could be anybody's game. The Inferno is staying right with Patchy here. Patchy in the expert class, so if he can stick within this drafting range, he might actually be able to get a ride back into the battles. He does need to get up to Nick Cruz in P5, sitting currently about, I want to say, 13 to 14 seconds in front, and they've got 7 minutes remaining. But if they can keep working together like this, there is always a chance. Speaking of chances, Josh Fulton now getting within half a second of Frank Mena in P12. P3 to P12 is relatively close together. It's all within a sector, as you can see from the timings below. Yeah, this has definitely been a good track to watch. I've driven it a few times. That's why I chose it for this season. I was excited for this one, but definitely wanted to make sure it was towards the end when everybody was comfortable with each other on the grid, as these chicanes get deadly, as too many of these racers have found out tonight. 6.5 minutes remaining in this race. Looks like we are 2 laps behind the rookie race. So those guys are getting a little bit closer to the end, probably in their final 3 minutes now. Ostrich leading that one with ETD only 1.5 seconds behind. Llama only 3 seconds behind him. Ricky Richmond 6.5 seconds behind, followed by T-Sid, who is a lap behind, and then Oreg 22 seconds behind, and Rick Nicholson, who is 8 seconds behind that. So not too bad. These guys are, oh, actually down to lap behind. Sorry about that. 30 seconds behind, so nowhere near a lap. Not sure where the live timings got with that one. But you can see that there's still some battles going on over in that rookie class with only a few minutes remaining. So those guys still have some organizing to do as far as their standings go. Quite a few pileups in the first 3 laps or so, Kaz, and then a couple single ones as well, but nothing too crazy. The man in front, though, Brett Anderson, has been doing a phenomenal job. He made it clean off the start and got away from all the chaos. Wibba was 7 seconds behind for quite some time, but has been putting a little bit of a dent in now within 4 seconds, and we'll see what that looks like here. It's a good gap, but not enough for comfort with how much time is still on the board. Now, this, on the other hand, is a comfortable one. Those guys definitely have the top 2 positions on lock, barring a big incident there. But Slay can definitely feel the heat from Bot Lando as he is within a second of that P3 spot. So still a little battle going on here between these two. And that 57 car is hauling. Currently, between the two of them, the 57 car's best lap is a 136.8, which he did on his previous lap, and Slay's is a 137.7. About a second separating them on their last lap and on their overall best lap. So Slay going to have to start pulling out a few moves if he can. We've got Rev 174 here. Did lose a position to Articulate Fox, looks like from a run-in with the wall based on the live timings there. Does have Patchy starting to move in, but still a little gap between them. Sebelu in the 22 car is, yeah, definitely hoping to see that fight for P3, but right now at least we got this fight for P9. Bolu looking to pass the 77 if he can. Going to be tough through helicopter, yep, without causing a little bit of contact. Ooh, and a run-in with the wall following. So we got a little bit of a wrecking ball in the 7-Eleven car today, but it happens as Seb's been caught up in his fair share as well. It's just been a tough race for these guys, as it's very, very high speed and suddenly turns into very restraint. I wouldn't say low speed, but still things like that. Josh Fulton does manage to get ahead of the Inferno. The Inferno sees that, I think knows that they need to make up the point if they can, and is going to start hammering down on the 23 car with these final 3 minutes to go. I think Frank Mena did have a brush up with the chicane in front, is going to find themselves on the back foot with not a lot of time to make up what seems to be a 4, probably 5-second gap by the time he makes it into the S's. Got a little bit of a run-in with the walls from Patchy and Bot Lando, but both racers managing to stay on the pace. Bot Lando slowly within a second now. Articulate Fox within a second of Nick Cruz. As we creep closer and closer to the end, Wibba has even shaved off another 2 seconds to the man in front. Oh, and we see Frank Mena entering the pits. I think they are going to call it on today's event, or they had some sort of an issue. Hopefully they make it back out to do one more lap so they can still pick up a few more points for today. We do see the Inferno starting to fall back a little bit from Josh Fulton, so gonna have to work pretty hard to get that final position back with only a minute and a half remaining. We do have Articulate Fox now slowly creeping in on the spot for Nick Cruz here. The 29 car is defending well, covering the fast lane through a lot of these turns. Look at the speed difference into the S's, but unfortunately has to take it a little wide to take that line, and gives Fox the opportunity through the parking lot to stick a nose through. And Fox now into P5. Unfortunately not going to have enough time to catch up to Bot Lando and the battle for P3. But after all the misfortune that Fox found themselves caught up in, That is definitely a good way to make up for it. Ooh, and Nick Cruz with a little bit of a spin is going to give a few racers a chance to move by. We'll see who. It's going to be Seb Bellew getting through first. And I think that's Josh Fulton. It is going to be one more lap after this one. And they are now only 3 seconds behind someone that they definitely are trying to get in front of in the points. So could be another opportunity for these two to make up a few to one of the guys in the podium spots. I know they're looking to join that fight if they can. Remember, this is the final lap of week 6 as Brett Anderson takes it through the parking lots towards the Crane Straight. Looking relatively comfortable as Wibba somewhat nearby, kind of just waiting for a mistake at this point. As it's only one lap to go, it's going to be hard to get 1.6 seconds out of the car at this stage. But that doesn't mean he's not trying. Speaking of trying, we see Lando creeping in and out of that 1 second gap himself. So might still see a little action in the battle for P3. As we see a few run-ins with the environment here or there. These guys are definitely pushing hard. You see Wibba flashing the lights, trying anything. Maybe just distract the guy and give him a bad final turn, a super late break here to just make anything happen if he can. Ooh, and a little brush in with the wall. Gonna be able to get back on the gas and move it around though. Won't be anything he's too concerned about, and we'll lock up a P2, but after a tremendous effort to try and get the spot back, a late lunge from Lando to see if he can maybe make up that final second in the last turn, but to no avail. Does make up a few tenths, but will lock up P4, and it looks like he had a good time as he signals the flash of a good race. We do have a good race going on between Josh Fulton and Patchy, though. Josh finds himself once more with the last turn to be the defining one. Doesn't look for the switchback opportunity, and I think that's going to be what costs him, as Patchy will take P8. Fulton, knowing that that's not his battle, as the Inferno crosses the line behind him for P10, and Nick Cruz, not sure where the spin came, but must have had one more spin or instant along the way, and ends up with a solid P11. Absolutely great racing from everybody. It was quite the experience to watch these guys. So that's going to be week 6 there, completed. And I think we got some standings to do. I mean, this is definitely going to shake a few things up. We see Articulate Fox actually with a P5 could be good as far as Wibba goes, as Patchy finds himself with a P8. There's going to be some gaps closed by Lando getting up there in the rankings as well. Big shakeups this week. So stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see how it goes.